have a choice, you know? I got the lease, like I got no other option.
Like NFL guys are working here and doing these same things. Like it can work at the highest level.
To see their growth and be able to provide that, it's definitely been a driving force for me.
Did you think 10 years ago, you'd still be building Genesis 10 years later? From South Bend to Evansville and everywhere in between, this is Get In, the show focused on the Hoosier State and the incredible stories happening here today. I'm Nate Spengel, founder of Get Indiana, and I will be your host for today's conversation. Big news from our friends over at Hope Plumbing. Now Hope Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You heard that right. They are now your one-stop shop for home services, offering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. New name, added services, but same trustworthy, loyal company. They treat your home like their very own, and now that includes HVAC as well. Book your next home services appointment with Hope and mention Get Indiana, and Hope will give you a free membership for a year. A membership includes important services like whole home plumbing inspection, a free mainline drain snaking, 2 seasonal HVAC inspections, and so much more. That's a deal you can't miss out on. Call Hope Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling and start saving today. Today I'm joined by Graham Wilkerson, founder of Genesis Sports Performance, a powerhouse training facility helping Indiana athletes unlock their full potential. Graham was a stud on the football team at Bishop Chatard and at DePaul University, my proud alma mater. And then he took his passion for sports and turned it into a science-backed coaching career. Today, we're going to be covering the roots of Genesis back in the old days. I still call it the grit factory from the beginning. We're going to get inside the weight room, talk about the locations they've grown here in Indiana and how they're expanding nationally. And we'll just wrap up talking about Indiana roots, the community, and the entrepreneurship that Graham, all the endeavors he has going on. Graham, welcome to Get In.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited
Dude,
to be on.
I am pumped for this one. So backstory for all the listeners out there. I first met Graham, it would have been 2017 time frame. I was still coming back. It was right before my junior year at DePaul. I was still on the football team. I always say I did not play college football. I was on a college football team. But at that point, I was still giving it my best. And we trained all summer, me and some of the boys, Matt Labus, Cade Jones, Brooks Hepp, and I'd been in and about. And that's how I initially got plugged into not only the Genesis community, but the Chatard community as well, because you came up through, played football at Chatard, then at DePaul. I believe it was medical sales. Is that kind of what you started your career at?
Yeah. I was doing med sales for a year right out of college, and then that's when I launched Genesis.
Gave up the career, right? I think you were one of the big trauma, right? Was it trauma implant
Yeah, I was
device?
working for, we were a distributor for Acumed, so trauma implant sales, all sorts of, like distal radius, elbows, all of it. Yeah.
A very like if you do the grind, a very lucrative career down the road, right? It's like you can make a really good living selling med device.
Yeah, similar to like Stryker, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the position I was in.
And then you decide to give that up and start coaching. Did you do it on the side to start, or is it just like, nope, I'm done with that, I'm going all in on this?
I had always had a passion for the strength conditioning, the sports performance side of things. I was doing the medical device sales, about a year in, recently graduated from college, and I decided I'm going to pursue what I've always wanted to do. Like I've been a part of kind of like a smaller startup company. I kind of had seen how it worked, and it's like, hey, if I'm gonna go at it and work this hard, I want to do it for myself, doing something I love. And
then you start a gym, and all of a sudden you have hundreds of members, and everyone's there. Like that's just how it goes, right? You left day one, and all of a sudden your place is packed, right?
No, I didn't take out a loan or anything, but I had fortunately saved enough money with the medical device sales to rent a spot.
Did you start with a location? Like when you first started training, you had a spot?
I started renting out of a CrossFit gym.
Oh, so like you were sharing space with the CrossFit gym?
Yeah, I was just on the side. I had a couple of my friends, honestly. Kyle Dietrich, right? Sean O'Connor, those guys.
And they were paying you?
They were paying me.
Heck yeah, all right.
They were paying me. I had like a few other clients, but I probably had 6 people, right? I reached out to my old football coach at the time, Vince Lorenzano, was like, hey, let's get you into the weight room. So I started training the Chatard athletes at the same time. And then, George Dury, one of my mentors, Chatard guy, he helped me find a spot. He did it for free for me. I had no money in the bank, and I remember I walked in, like there's lights hanging from the ceiling. It's carpeted. It was an old law office, 1,500 square feet, I think.
On Tacoma.
Yeah.
Behind the Aldi, right?
Yeah.
That was the spot.
It was the spot. And I remember, I talked to my parents about it. They're like, I had to sign the personal guarantee. They're just like, hey, like, we support you, but if you fail, like, you're going
Like
bankrupt.
how long
right?
and this was pre-COVID time when like now I feel like commercial real estate leases are a little bit different. Like what was that first lease that you signed?
So this was in 2014. It was a 3-year lease, right?
Which is still like 3 years. That's probably one of the shortest term commercial leases that they did at the time. But like I feel like a lot of those were like 5 and 10 year like anchor tenants, things like that. So you signed in 3 years. What was rent at Tacoma in 2014?
Probably around $3,000.
So you're
2 or 3 grand.
3 grand. Like you extrapolate that, and you're like, damn, that's like $100,000 investment.
Right.
And how old are you at the time?
24.
24. And you're like, you're training Shatard. Like you're in the weight room there.
I'm in the weight room there.
So you have like a little bit of like, okay, there's some stability, like a little bit coming from the school, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time, right, it's 2014, so I'm making like $15 an hour doing that, and I'm hyped, right? Like, hey, I got a little bit of guaranteed income coming in, and then everything else I gotta eat what I kill, right?
So you sign the lease on the place, and you have to turn a law office into a gym.
Yep.
On a shoestring budget.
Yes, on a shoestring budget. I remember Kyle and I are in there, like, taping up there's holes in the cement. We're trying to plug on. Like, and I had so much like just help amongst the community along the way. The Babcocks, right? They own the electrical company. I cut a deal there, so it's like I'll train your son to help me with the lights. And so I was just going to auctions, picking up the equipment like that, just balling on a budget, as they say.
Well, and to put it in perspective, like now you operate 2 facilities, but you help out and have like worked with over 19 facilities across the country. So like it's the impact that you've had from 24 in a decade, or when you spend a decade chasing your passion, like you're making an outsized impact far beyond Central Indiana now. But it all started on that in the 1,500 square feet in Tacoma. What was the first class you opened up? Like, what was the first workout that you were coaching through, and how many people showed up?
Like I said, I had a couple of my adult clients. I remember like, hey, I want to get into sports performance. I need to be able to convert some of these athletes from Chatard over into the gym. So I reach out to the Hannons, right? I'm like, hey, David, like, you should come in and try this out. It was David, and I still remember Jimmy Boso. 2 Chatard boys. I had a tire, a rack, and a barbell. That's it. Right?
1 rack, 1 barbell.
Yeah.
Where do you even like go buy weights? Just like Facebook Market. And Facebook Marketplace wasn't even a thing yet, right?
Well, at the time, I was going to auctions and trying to just get equipment for cheap, right? And so I remember, it was like, all right, punch the tire back and forth, we'll do some squats and some bench. Like, that's all I had. There was no turf. We'll do some sprints on the rubber, and then
Or out in the parking lot.
Yeah, and then like farmers walks in the parking lot, right?
Dude, summer at the Tacoma Genesis was just different because the doors would be wide open. We'd be blaring music that would make the freaking paint peel off the walls, and I think, and that was 3 years later. So by the time I got there, you were already semi-established. Mm-hmm. So you get a few Chatard athletes to start coming in. Did you still have those adjustable dumbbells? Remember those ones?
Yeah.
Those
were my dumbbells.
Those are still lurking
50,
around.
Right?
Heck yeah, I love it. Time of year, because when they're in season, they're probably not doing much with you because they're working out with the football team and all stuff. So you get them in the off season.
I didn't know what I was doing at the start. Right? I didn't even really recognize that there was seasonality to it. So I remember I got to pay my rent. I got to be able to afford my rent for my house, and I'm basically like my diet was like, hey, I'm gonna grab like some protein bars and some ground turkey. So I remember thinking like, hey, as long as I'm paying my rent, I'm living the dream. I love it. And then football season started. All I had was like basically Chatard football players, and I like lost. At the time, I was probably doing $7K a month, and I think I probably lost $6K in a day, right? And just then facing the harsh reality, like, hey, like, all right, this is a business. How are you gonna fill people in the door? How are you gonna deal with seasonality? Like, what's the next step to make this thing go? But it was good that I really didn't have a choice. It's like I got the lease. Like I got no other option.
Yeah, and that's the thing because you see a lot of people do personal fitness coaching on the side. They're not they could get like 2, 3, 5 clients, and maybe you're like a jacked man or woman that's like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to get jacked. And it's like, but there's not that much pressure on it. Like, you don't have to build the best systems. You don't have to like produce athlete results, because that's one thing, right? Where it's like you're now, the way I look at it, super scientific and analytical. Like we're gonna implement these training structures to get you faster in the 40-yard dash, which is gonna get you on a college team, or we're gonna get you your vertical jump. I feel like they're always testing they're always testing like 20-yard. Like they're doing all the fun stuff, and I'm over there like, you know, going to Genesis, being a member and all the stuff. Like I'm doing, you know, curls or whatever, and they're like jumping 36 inches, and I'm like, dude, those guys are crazy. But back in the day, that's what you wanted to do, right? You had to show these results. We never got over 30. Come on, let's be honest. Everything kind of dries up when football season comes around. You probably have a few adults that are still coming in. You're forced to make a decision. You're forced to figure it out. Where does your mind go? What do you start doing?
Back to everything I didn't know, and just how kind of young and dumb I was, and how much better I could have fast tracked it. I tried to change it to gin fit one off season, like try to go after the general population clientele, which I got away from my roots, which was sports performance. So that was a mistake. Then I started realizing like, hey, you got to get other sports in.
I think nowadays when we think of sports performance, like helping develop high school and college athletes is like a no-brainer. Like, yeah, of course that is. But was that popular in 2014? Like, sports specific, or not even sports specific, but sports being the focus of gyms, or were a lot of them like CrossFit gyms? Like, where were these kids training? What was the competitor?
It was a little bit less crowded back then than it is now, right? Because you could say, hey, Genesis, we're going to help you with strength, speed, power, agility. We're do it all. It's sports performance. Now, you know, you have all these great high school strength coaches, right? A lot of them are getting it done at school, and then there's so much skill training going on, right? So I'm competing with the schools, the skill training, and the fact that all these kids are on travel teams. Like the seasons are longer.
They never stop. Like our best wrestlers never stop doing the art of wrestling. Like I feel like I played 3 sports, and it was like, okay, you got a specific season, and in the summer you kind of mixed a little bit of them together. But it's like now I feel a lot of times it's like you're a baseball player. Like the rise of specialization in sport, all they're doing is just playing baseball and pitching or doing whatever, and like doing drills for pitching, or like I don't know if they're bench pressing that often or whatever, you know. So as this was like coming up, were you seeing this trend and like, hey, I need to get in on like sports is the thing?
Yes, I'm seeing this is happening. I'm seeing. I mean, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. I'm starting to see like we're getting pushed out a little bit, because I mean, if you're a parent, you're going to buy the result, right? So if I'm a baseball skill coach, I'm like, hey, I'm going to get your son's exit velo up by whatever. Like, I'm going to do that over, I'm going to go to this more generalized training market where he's going to get him stronger, faster, whatever. So we had to completely kind of switch the brand up a little bit to more like, hey, this is speed training. Speed is a skill. Every athlete needs to improve their speed. We have a mile per hour guarantee for speed
a mile
increases.
Per hour guarantee.
A mile per hour guarantee, and that's kind of what we've been able to sell and kind of make our name around the speed.
And I felt like at first it was like predominantly football, even into year 3, like most of the crew that was working out were football players. And then you started to get some additional ones in there. When was the first moment where you really like got into maybe a different sport other than football, and things started rolling?
Year 3, year 4, we started to get, you know, female athletes, which was awesome. We started to get lacrosse, rugby, some wrestlers. That's when I realized like, hey, you can't make your gym dependent on one school.
Put in perspective, she started 17 state titles. So like they know what they're doing when it comes to football. And I remember you had some elite level football players that were coming through the gym, right? Yeah. Like I think in the early year, like NFL caliber, right?
Yeah, we had the Martins. You know, I played football with Zach. So I remember he came back. It was like his first year with the Cowboys. And I trained him in the offseason, which was awesome.
And like, was that a hard sell of like, hey man, like this is what I do. Like I know a thing or two, let me train you?
No, I think he just reached out.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it went. He just was like, hey man, I'm back for the offseason. He was coming in the CrossFit gym. Zach was.
Like he was when you were renting the space in the CrossFit gym?
Yeah, if you go look at my Instagram, like one of the very kind of first pics back in the day, like Zach's off season was done in the CrossFit gym.
And what does the CrossFit guy say? Like you walk an NFL player in there and he's like, what the hell is this guy doing?
Yeah, and you know, remember like he just started, so no one. He
That's
wasn't
true.
the Pro Bowler that he is. Like
Yeah.
no one really knew, right? And then Zach got obviously younger brother Nick in, so I would train them. Ted Karras, Cathedral, he came in and trained with them for the off season. Then we got Jason Spriggs from Concord. So then we had a nice group of Indiana offensive linemen.
Just the Indie O linemen. Yeah, the corn-fed boys. I love that. That's so sick. And that's like a little bit of, one, good for your skills of like how, because you have to know what you're talking about. If you're going to train a top tier athlete, you know, like you got to be doing research. I remember you going through like all of the testing and credential side of things too, to like know that what you're saying is going to work at the highest level and how you're training with them. And clearly, you know, a little, like, I mean, you, obviously they have, you know, a lot of genetics and they were awesome, hardworking individuals too. But like a little bit of that slice comes from working out in that summer in the offseason with Genesis. And then you go back to the football team or you go back to these high school athletes. It's like, yeah, we're training. Like NFL guys are working here and doing these same things. Like it can work at the highest level.
Absolutely. And then the kids that you work with on the high school level, they start getting results, get all state or get a scholarship. And that's kind of how the word of mouth.
Do you have any of those early stories where someone kind of came into the sports performance program and just like flipped their career around, or like really maybe not even flip their career, but took their career to the next level?
We have a kid, he's a Cathedral kid, very fast, was gifted, and you know, by doing some extra speed, plyometric, strength training, he's like one of the fastest kids in the nation. So he ran
in the nation.
He ran a 6.25 60-yard dash in baseball. I think it was second in the nation. Got a scholarship at West Point to play. He ran track and set a school record in the 60-meter. First year running track.
He's a baseball kid?
Yeah, baseball kid.
So is he going to do outdoor track, or is he like, no, I'm playing baseball?
Yeah, you know, we'll have to see. But then all of a sudden, like, now schools are looking at him from track.
Talked about the hand. It's like, I remember Tommy, which like, you know, they're a fan and a good family. And like his transformation into just being like a muscle powerhouse speed dude, like is, I mean, attributed to his work ethic and what he did, but he grinded. Like, not many high school kids are willing to wake up at 5 or whatever a.m. to be in the gym at 6, and that dude was in there a lot. And it totally, like, I mean, he was an elite football player, an elite nationally acclaimed rugby player, playing at IU now, and then a state qualifier wrestler. I mean, just like, and I remember seeing him at Genesis all the time grinding, and it just like not flipped, but elevated his high school athletic career.
You know, Wyatt Schrader would bring him in when I think Tommy was a sophomore, junior. They'd be going in every morning, and they did it in the in-season too. So they're playing football while they're doing it. And then, you know, Tommy actually just texted me the other day. He sent me an in-body of like, whatever, 4 years of progress. And it was insane, obviously. And he's like, I've never done anybody else's workouts but yours. So like he's at IU. And he uses Train Heroic, and he's still doing our.
No way. That's sick. He talk about all time good dudes. Yeah. He's a competitor like no other. But we're not just gonna talk about all these high school like athlete stories, and we're gonna get into the meat because I think that at some point during your entrepreneurship career here, you realize that just being the strength coach like wasn't going to totally like be your destiny. Like you didn't just want to coach at one gym for 35 years. And the entrepreneurship bug, I guess, kind of started to take over. When was the moment where you started to think about expansion and growing what your business could be?
You know, it was probably COVID and after.
Did you have 2 locations before COVID, or you had just moved into the new location at 65th?
Yeah, we had just one location. Man, we were paying people $10.99, so it's like, hey, the trainers that we had, like, we weren't able to pay them. We had to shut down. That was no fun. I saw the power in systemizing things because I think we did a good job, like, having a lot of client communication, lending out our equipment, like trying to stay in front of people so that we didn't just, you know, we were shut down for 3 months, lose all of our auto renewing revenue because we had to still pay all of our
How
rent.
big of a drop did you see from that?
$30K in top line revenue during those months, right? It was bad.
But kudos to the ones that stuck around.
Oh yeah, our community was amazing, and a lot of them, you know, they're like, hey, just leave it on. We want to support you guys, which was awesome. You know, I saw that, and then probably when I knew, like, hey, I got to systemize this thing, I got to turn this up, would be, one, you know, I met my wife. I was training nonstop.
Like you're like mornings, like you
Yes.
get a little bit of afternoon time, but maybe you're doing some one-on-one stuff with some of the NFL guys or whoever, and then it's like evenings are swamped.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting up at 4:30, 5 a.m. and you're not getting home till 8. Like, I was a zombie, right? And I'm like, and I was working on Saturdays and Sundays to try to get the one-on-ones in. So I was like, I don't know that I want this to be my life forever. Like, you know, I knew we wanted to have a family. I don't think that was very sustainable. And so then I brought I had met my wife. I had brought my trainers on, and I wanted to pay them more. They were so bought in. I'm like, man, I want to create a career for them too. And then that's when I kind of realized, like, let's turn up the gas on this. Some of the things I'm the most proud of, like Kendrick, he's our general manager. For those that don't know him, he started dusting the dumbbells for me for like $10 an hour. Then the only money I could pay him at one point was a $20,000 salary. And now he's a partner in it. He's the director of operations. He's got a baby, he's got a wife, he can afford a house, makes a great living. Derek was driving from West Lafayette and opening the gym at 5:40 every morning. That's a 2-hour drive. He's getting up at 3:30 a.m., working 3 jobs. And now Derek's our adult director. He's got a full-time salary. Devin came in as an intern, like not making anything. He's got a full-time salary. Like, to see their growth and be able to provide that, it's definitely been a driving force for me, and it's been amazing.
Because when you flip from 1099, where it's like, hey, they know that it's not like it's not guaranteed forever. It's just like you're a contractor. You're helping out build this thing, but you're not like on the inside of it. And when you turn them into W-2s and like starts talking about salary, it's like, well, shoot, dude, it's not just for you and your career and, you know, your family. It's like everyone's family. Mm-hmm. Like, they rely on you to sign the paychecks.
Right. You know, Caleb, he was delivering pizzas before. He's a GM now. I always say this to him all the time in our staff meeting. I'm like, we got 3 babies to support, right? And there's probably more babies to come. So, like, we all gotta make sure.
And I remember, dude, Caleb was grinding at the gym while he was going through IU at the time. Well, IUPUI at the time, RIP, IU Indy. He was like, but he would be like the only college kid. Like, he's in there at 5:40 in the morning. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, no chance in college I was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to a job.
Yes.
But like, he knew, and I think all the time we like kind of knew he was hopefully going to do something with you, but it wasn't like set in stone. It wasn't like, oh yeah, this is going to be my career. And now he's at the Northwest location.
Yeah, he's the general manager of the Northwest location. I mean, he does an amazing job. He's come a long way. I mean, he had no experience when he started. That was his first job. And now he runs that thing, and he does an awesome job. Dude, I'm so proud of that guy.
You also realize, so you think of these iterations, right? From you're coaching only football to now you have to do all the sports. Now you're coaching all the time. Okay, you need to like build these systems and have employees and build this thing bigger. To then you realize that being a gym owner and operator of you know, specific locations in Central Indiana, there's even more you can add on to this, right? And I know that you expanded down to Madison, I remember, and like had tested some stuff out. And like what people have to know is like sometimes like, so you do some tests and they don't always work the way that you had intended for them to. And then so from that experience, and you come back and then you start working on licensing. And so take me through like what you're doing there.
Well, I went down to Madison, didn't work out, was able to sell that to the guy that was running it, but learned a ton, right? Learned from my mistake, lick my wounds, get better.
Some individuals would be like, okay, you tried that, like didn't work. Cool, not the move. Just like stay happy with what you have.
Right. And then we opened up the Carmel location shortly after. So there was a small period of time when I had 3 gyms, and then we sold off the Madison, so we had the 2. And then I just focused on developing the heck out of my people, my staff, getting these systems in line. And when we really started to experience a lot of growth, I mean, we've seen 20, 30, 40%, like some years, year-over-year growth, right? I felt like, hey, I got something I can help other gym owners with. And so I started this licensing program where I basically install our systems at Genesis into these other gyms and help them grow. Sports performance gyms that were like me on Tacoma. So it's cool to give back and help them kind of do it a little faster than what it took me.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Roots Realty Co., the absolute best real estate team here in Central Indiana. Listen, if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, you need people who actually care about our Indiana community. That's Tyler and Max over at Roots Realty. These guys aren't just slinging houses, they're building communities, helping people find homes that actually fit their lives and making the whole process way less stressful. They're not some big corporate machine. They're real people who know Indiana inside and out. Whether you're a first-time buyer, an investor looking for your next deal, or just trying to get top dollar for your home, these guys have the expertise and the hustle to make it happen. They're out here doing great work, not just in Indianapolis, but all across Central Indiana and beyond. So if you're in the market, or even if you're thinking about it, hit up Tyler and Max at Roots Realty Co. and they'll take good care of you. Check them out at rootsrealty.co or meet them in person at one of their upcoming investor masterclasses. More details on their website, rootsrealty.co. Let's get back into it. You have to make all the mistakes and try all the things where it's we tried that promo, or we tried this, or something that worked or didn't work, right? It was I think one of the cool things you did was you realized that it was seasonal and the college kids would come back from the summer. So it was the summer special or whatever. It's hey, it's going to be $500 or whatever. And you get 8 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever the thing is. And so you can then say, oh, we did that. We tried it and it didn't work, or it did work, and then implement it into the grit factories to help them, accelerate their growth a little bit.
I was looking at Northwest, right? It took us 2 years to do what it took us 6 years to do at Flagship. These systems work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then take us through, you go find someone, where are the locations that you're working with currently? Where are the gyms at?
Oh, they're all over the U.S. So there's actually one in Canada too.
No way.
So Illinois.
Genesis International, baby.
Yeah. Illinois, Tennessee, Florida, Texas.
No way.
Ohio. All over the place. Yeah.
And how are they finding you, or how are you finding them?
I'm fortunate enough to have great mentors. So in one of my mentorship groups, there's a guy named Pat Rigsby. He's also partnered with me on the license side. He, has a good following of sports performance gym owners. So that was one way. I'm a Midwest Speed Lab director for the Universal Speed Rating. People that aren't involved in sports performance, you're not going to know what that is. But if you are, it's a pretty recognized brand. So I help them, and I did a business course for them, and people are finding me through that as well.
Ah, okay. And so are there stories of hey, okay, so you did it in 6 years at your flagship location, 2 years at the Northwest location. Someone new comes on. How big of an impact are you making in their business?
Are they taking action or not, right? I got a young kid in Florida. Reminds me of honestly me when I started. He, was below 10K in revenue, and he's about to hit 15 in less than a month, right?
And what are the quick things that you implement where it's hey, dude, do this, and it's gonna make an impact?
Yeah, one, plug into your gym, internal marketing, right? Ask your members for reviews, ask your members for referrals, reactivate former members. That right there, probably pick up 20 leads a month, right? Create front end offers and do email campaigns. I do a lot of email marketing. Go into sport. I know you do this because I see you in these when I go in there. Facebook groups.
Yes.
I see you in there,
dude,
from the softball.
Yeah, from Bad Hats.
Yeah,
for sure. Hats. I still get so much stuff. And at first people are Facebook groups use people, especially parents. I feel once you become a parent, then you're stop questioning if people are in Facebook groups or not. And then the older you get, the more groups that you're in. Yes. Someone's 70-year-old grandma is probably in every group. So now I'm in dude, I get info. Well, not only the softball and baseball stuff from Bats, but I also see the you grew up in Seymour, Indiana. What's going on in Madison? What's up Fort Wayne? South Bend. I know what's going on. And that's where you get the real, where people are really engaged in asking questions, and they're I don't know if you're on Reddit, but that's probably another place where you see people that are my son loves baseball, but he has no chance of making the varsity. What do we need to do to help get him ready to make the varsity team? And you can go in there and be an expert and answer those questions. Mm-hmm. So you're grinding in Facebook groups. I love it. That's a hustle.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, they don't have the money to do paid marketing yet, and you don't need to at that level. There's no reason to go spend $2,000-$3,000 on Facebook ads when you're making $10K a month. There's no reason. I mean, we got up to probably $60K without ever paying for any sort of ads, right? 6K a month.
Just being a good community steward, yes. Right? And being invested in. And I think that reputation is a lot there, and it's like you talk about like the miles, the MPH guarantee. And it's like a lot of people,
yes.
yeah, and it's a lot of people. I think with gyms, right? It's like I'm sure I don't know. Do you guys have the Sigler like? You're not really like adult fitness isn't like your bread and butter, but it's like they come in January, they don't have results in February, and they're gone in March. Right? Like the New Year's resolution crew. And so like being able to say, hey, we're going to get you these guarantees. And then from like a coaching perspective, getting the athletes bought in and like delivering them to not only the MPH, but like scholarships and varsity spots and, you know, just better seasons overall. I think it's,
you know, just making sure that you're so service oriented and you have that down with the coaching protocols. And I think with the youth athletes, we do a lot of that, like huge for us. Build that self-confidence, that self-concept, that self-worth. That's all. I have procedures to kind of inherently build that within the gym.
like what age do kids start coming to you?
7-year-olds.
But they're not like in there like hitting heavy squat at 7.
No.
Like speed and agility stuff?
Speed, agility.
When does a kid get into a squat rack or like start to bench press?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the kid, right?
Like where they are in like the maturity cycle?
Yeah. Are they, you know, able to do the foundational movement patterns with perfect form, and then we can start loading it. You know, there is the old wives' tale, like lifting stunts your growth. That has no basis. The research is completely opposite of that. It's actually good to do some resistance training. It's not even near the forces that these kids are going to experience in their sport. You know, our youth kids, we kid glove it, right? Like we want to make sure that we're building a great foundation. They have all the movement patterns done correctly before we're really trying to mess with a lot of external load, right?
So what changes in the training mentality from when you're, let's say, an 8th grader, a senior in high school, a senior in college versus pro? You've trained at all these levels, and it's like, what are the traits or what are you trying to instill into these kids? And like, what, I don't know, what, like, take me through the progression of that of like, well, does one day you just get stronger, or is it, I don't know. Take me through that progression through there.
The basics are the basics for a reason. So like stuff that I'll do with youth kids, I'm probably doing with NFL guys too, right? Like, hey, can this athlete create an appropriate amount of force in a fast amount of time in the directions that they play their sport in to theoretically improve their performance, right? And so, you know, at the youth level, if we want to get into a little bit of the science behind it, right? Force precedes power. It precedes velocity. So you can't really develop like a powerful, fast kid if there's not a foundation of force. So, you know, there is some basic just strength training. The more force an athlete can like put into the ground in relation to their body weight, the faster they're going to be.
How are you measuring force?
So there's thousands of ways to measure. We have force plates. We could look at it as like a...
is that like the little like string that goes to the barbell?
That's measuring velocity, so that goes
velocity
into it. You can look at just like a relative strength number for the athlete, like a relative strength index. So once the athlete gets strong, then we want to layer in the plyos and the speed work. And that's where most people live most of the time. You got to continue to get stronger, raise the ceiling so that we can, you know, keep doing more power and speed stuff.
It's pretty crazy in like 10 years how different the conversation. Like I think everyone thinks back to like their old like 90s strength coach or whatever. It was like do more curls and do more push-ups or whatever. And now how like technology and innovation within sports and training and all the stuff, like Whoop bands, like that didn't exist when you like. I don't know if maybe Whoop had just started, but it wasn't like people were training on recovery and all this stuff. Like it's nuts.
It really doesn't matter until the athlete's more advanced, I would say. But then you'll look at like, hey, is this athlete like force deficient or velocity deficient? So if there is a force deficiency, like I'm going to do more weighted sprints. I'm going to do longer ground contact jumping. I'm going to do more force production in the weight room, heavier lifting, right? If there's a velocity deficient, I'm going to lift weights faster with that VBT. I'm going to do more elastic plyometrics. I'm going to change the way that I'm doing the sprinting so it's more unloaded, top-end type speed stuff. And we have an ability to do that through our assessment, right? So we get a kid on a force plate. We can look at, you know, a counter movement jump and RSI and then put them on the lasers for their sprints, and we can kind of see where they're lacking. And it gives us a little bit more of a targeted approach than back in the day when it was just like, let's condition them and get them strong.
Let's condition and let's put heavy ass weight on the bar and move that around. There was just like a special. It'll always hold a special place in my heart of just like 15 shirtless college football players playing like heavy metal and just like putting as many plates as we could on the bar. It was a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said.
But
about
then
that
like now it's like, yeah, train hard, but also train smart. You know, No, I love it, and it's been fun to see this iterations and like the growth of you, not only as a coach with staff and as an entrepreneur. I mean, it's been a remarkable decade, 11 years, year over a decade, like. That's crazy. Did you think 10 years ago that, you'd still be building Genesis 10 years later?
I mean, I had done it with the expectation, like, this is what I'm going to do. I didn't really have a backup plan. I definitely got into it thinking, I love coaching. I want to work with athletes. That's what I probably thought I would be doing for the rest of my life. I didn't know I'd have this kind of shift to the business development piece. It's a skill I've really enjoyed like honing and working on, and
it's a competition, a lot of it, right? It's like you got to go out there and compete against the other gyms, the other coaches. You want to have the most knowledge. Like you get to go out there and it's not quite football, but it's it's like the adult version of it a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm someone that I got to have another goal, and it's got to be grander and grander and grander, whether that's good or bad, but that's how
I think a healthy dose of ambition is not a bad thing,
my
right?
wife is literally like, how many businesses do you have now, and what are you doing? Like, when are you opening up the new facility? Like, she just like can't even believe.
So as you look forward then, right? So you've been doing this 11 years, you're licensing, you're working with other gym owners, you're growing your 2 locations. What can we see coming down the pipeline from Genesis Sports Performance?
In Indiana, right? Indianapolis, this kind of central Indiana area, like I'm always going to have my owner-operated facilities. My staff, I want to continue to, help them grow, take care of them, create more opportunities for them. So I expect to have more facilities throughout the area. I've always wanted to have kind of the shape of a star, about 5 facilities.
Okay, what spots are you eyeing? So it'd be like where you're at currently on.
That'll be the middle, right? We're inside the loop. And then we got one on the northwest side. I need to get one more kind of northeast. I'd like to go south at some point. I think that's gonna eventually come to fruition. But then on the license side, probably by the end of the year, that's gonna be a franchise. So that's where a lot of my time has been spent as of late.
So someone that wants to start a gym or maybe owns a gym comes to you and says like, man, I want to take this thing to the next level, may become a franchisee of Genesis across the country?
Yep, exactly. We're going to take more of a conversion model. So it's not, hey, Nate Spangle, who has no idea how to run a gym, wants to invest in a Genesis. So I'm going to go charge him retail space in a 7,000 square foot facility, try to run this playbook. It's going to be, hey, you're a current gym owner. You need some help on the business side. We'll come in, we'll do a conversion, and you'll be a part of the Genesis franchise.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too, because you get people, they have ownership, right? And they have experience too, like getting from, the hardest part, I don't know, as you might differ now, but like 0 to 1, like getting something going is really hard. Like a lot of people talk about wanting to be, and making the transition from part-time, like I help a few people train to get stronger and lose some weight, versus like I do this full-time, like it is my job. I feel like that's so when you find the people that are doing that and have made that leap, it's like, well, great, helping them get from 1 to 2 and 2 to 10 isn't crazy. It takes a lot of work, but it's not as scary, I feel like, as the 0 to 1.
Yeah, you would be amazed by the amount of gym owners I encounter in a day that I talk to. I'm a one-person operation. I have no staff. I'm paying my bills, but that's about it. And I'm training 40 hours a week. Well, how long have you been doing this? 15 years. So it's like, in my mind, like if you're willing to play in the dirt that long, I can give you some systems you're hopefully able to execute, because that takes some toughness, right?
Dude, you just got to be gritty, relentless.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to do that. Like, And you got to love coaching, which that's a piece of it too. I think people go out and buy franchises, whether it's freaking donuts to gyms to whatever it is. And it's like, oh, they see it as just a money-making opportunity. Like, oh yeah, sports performance. Like parents are, kind of crazy and spend a lot of money on sports performance. Or I want to do this because I want to make money. I think one of the special parts, especially early on, and even now, like Kendrick still shows up to sporting events all across the north side of Indianapolis. Like he's at the state game for Chittard. He's coming to wrestle. Like we have wrestlers that train there, and he's coming to wrestling matches. Yeah. Like if you just cared about the money, you'd say, ain't doing that stuff, right? And being able to actually invest in kids and care about the idea of coaching, because it's not like you're not just a gym owner, you're a coach, right? And I think that part is hard to teach.
Yeah, 100%, and that's why it's so fun to work with these people, right? Because they all started not because, and they're in the position they are in, not because they're a, business owner that got in it for the investment. They all started because of the passion of coaching. And when I speak with them, I just see, my former self in them. They got families, they got young kids. They are giving it all to the clients that come into the gym, but they're also like, man, they're burning at both ends. They're working 60 hours a week. They can't coach their kid because they have to coach everybody else's, right? And being able to like give them an opportunity to like, hey, we're still going to take everything that makes it great about the facility. We're going to keep all that. That's what makes you good. But we're going to institute some systems to help you, make more money for your family, for your lifestyle, because a lot of them do not, right? That's just the nature of coaching. It's month to month. Right.
Oh yeah. Like if you wanted to be rich, you would not get into coaching.
Yeah. And then, we're going to give you more financial freedom, but then we're also going to give you the ability to serve more people, right? Like we'll expand your brand. You can help more of the kids that you care about, and you're not going to be on the floor 60 hours a week.
Yeah. Was that a hard transition for you? Obviously easy transition because you get more time back, but like, you got into the love of coaching, and now I'm sure as the more the years go on, the less you coach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do much coaching on the sports performance side. It's now I'm coaching the other business owners. I'm coaching the staff.
You're coaching your staff to distill, because that was the piece that like when you took a Graham class, it was like, dude, this is Genesis,
Yeah,
and then.
Man.
Over the years, you've done a really good job of like now it's like Kendrick is the guy or Derek is the guy.
It was really hard, and I don't know that it was as hard to develop the systems and train those guys. Like they were always competent, but it was like hard on me mentally because like I almost felt like, oh, I'm letting these people down because I'm not in there, and it took like a lot of a mind shift. It took coaching from my mentors to kind of talk me through that headspace because I was like, I got to be there. I'm the guy. And I would feel guilty. Like maybe I worked a 50-hour week and I got home to take my wife out to a date or something. I'd be looking at the Genesis story, texting Kendrick, is everything okay? Like I was guilty for a long time. It probably took me, I probably could have grown faster if I didn't feel that way. It was probably I probably.
But your baby, right?
I
like
could have gotten into more of this side of things 2 years earlier than I did. But I don't regret it. Like it was still having Kendrick and Caleb at my side to see it all really helped them.
And it empowers them to take more ownership. Like no one wants to be like micromanaged about everything, and it's like, and you got to let them grow and fail. Like I'm sure, like I feel like I want to ask about this. Was there ever like a person, obviously we're not gonna name names, but it's like you sold this person, like they came in the door, you sold them, and then someone else within your staff coaches them, and then they leave, and you're like, damn, like that would be hard.
Yeah, I mean, I had kids texting me at the time, like, well, when are you gonna be in? When are you, like, I don't want to come in unless you're coming.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was hard, but, I think the way that I kind of had to shift my mind frame was like, if I want the whole operation, if I want my staff to grow, like I'm doing a disservice to Kendrick if I'm on the floor coaching. I'm doing a disservice to Caleb if I'm on the floor coaching because I'm not growing and creating more opportunities for all of them.
Yeah, and like the best is like you coach your coaches.
Right.
And like help them become better.
Right.
That is like being a really good strength and conditioning is like something you can hone and like they can work on their craft. And yeah, you coming in and taking all like the best athletes or whatever, it's like not giving them the opportunity to grow and like giving you the chance to like learn, grow as a leader too.
Right.
Man, that is, being able to take your hands off the wheel and say like, hey, we gotta get this thing rolling.
It gets easier when you see it too. Like I see Kendrick's success. That would not have happened if I was in there all the time. I look at Cody. He's another one of my full-time guys. Him and his wife, they have 2 kids. They moved from Kansas. They were working at a previous gym. That gym, had some financial issues, so he got let go. And like I didn't necessarily have it in the budget to, support more trainers full time. But we created this ad agency, right? And now that's getting going, and that's going to be, fulfill a lot of his salary. And I won't be able to do that if I'm just on the floor all the
if you were
time,
like
right?
instructing my bench press.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's like you take the risk of like short term, it might dip a little bit, but then it's your job to coach it back up to be even higher because you only have so many hours in a day.
Yeah. And, Kendrick and Caleb, like, they're amazing at it. I'm like, man, you guys are probably better than I was, right? I walk in there. Actually, they are better than I was. I walk in there and like, Kendrick, Caleb, they got those things dialed in. If I do need to coach, like let's say someone's out or I want to go in and just, get my fill again, the kids are like, oh, Kendrick told me to do this. Or like,
dude, now you're like, now you don't matter. Now
I'm
you're
like,
like,
man, I told Kendrick to say that.
like weird. Yeah. Like, dude, I love it. It's been awesome to see the journey, and I'm excited to see the more growth coming out of you guys and all the cool stuff you're going to do from the licensing program to more Central Indiana locations. We're kind of wrapping up the show here. I have a few fun segments to hit on. So the first one's our Younger Years segment. It's brought to you by our friends at Or Fellowship. They're a great organization here in Indiana, helping develop young business leaders across the state. So, Graham, what advice would you give to your 22-year-old self?
Stay the course. Like, you're not going to know the answers to everything. It's going to be hard. It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would be doing it. If you're an action taker, like you'll figure it out. Continue to take action and you'll figure it out.
Amen. That's really good advice. I think that is powerful. Action, like just be action oriented and stay the course. Like I think a lot of people, like you said 6 years. It was like it took you, but you've been doing this for 11 now, and it's like it starts to accelerate. But if a lot of people don't make it long enough to see it accelerate, because I don't know. I think that's just really, really impactful. Next question. You have had a lot of guys go to Wabash. You're obviously a DePaul alum. How does your alliance lie on Monon Bell game?
Oh, I mean, obviously I'm Tigers through and through, but all the kids that go to Wabash that we've trained, like I'm watching them just as much as I'm watching the DePaul guys. Like I'm rooting for their success. It's let me tell you, if we lose, the victory hurts a little less because at least, I know my guys are celebrating on the other side.
Yeah, it's like on both sides there. It's like you see those dudes and it's like, oh, man, I liked you. And it's like, I root for them. I always say I root for you 364 days a year.
Yeah.
Like I'm like rooting for maybe you individually, like, have an all right game or whatever. But at every other game, I'll root for them, right? What was the pull-up record that you attempted?
It was pull-ups for 12 hours, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I was just trying to go for the record. I don't even remember what it was. I think I got 3,000 something, right?
Dude, he did 3. How were your hands? Were your hands
My hands were completely shredded. I'm pretty sure I had rhabdo. Like I got sick bad after it. I remember the next day I couldn't open doorknobs or put my socks on. But I was cramping in between each set. So Kyle Diedrich, I'd come off the bar, he'd roll me out, and then I'd get back up on the bar. I mean, I always joke with my wife. We were like, just started dating. And like that's the first time she met my family. Like that's like
the first time she met your family was
yeah.
when you were attempting to break the 12-hour pull-up record.
I always tell her like, hey, that's what won you over, right?
yeah, 3,000 pull-ups and not being able to put on your socks.
Yeah, she had to put them on for me the next day. That's when I knew. I'm like, I gotta marry this guy.
Yeah, right. Someone who's willing to put on your socks when you can't touch your toes. Yeah. That's. I still remember that, and I remember coming in there, and I was just like, wow. And the next day, your hands were just toasted. And now you've kind of switched. You're like jiu-jitsu has become the thing recently, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me about like what encouraged you to go get into jiu-jitsu.
Drew Champlin, I love him. He opened up right off 71st and Benford, so it was right by the gym. And I drive that way. I'm always seeing it. I had been doing some strongman training. I just was like wanting to get back into something competitive. Like I don't golf. Like that's not really my thing. And the jiu-jitsu seemed cool. So I went in there. I fell in love with it. When I first started, I had to get a surgery, but I kept going back, right?
Yeah, right? Like, did you, like, mess up your elbow or something?
I tore my LCL. But, man, I got Caleb in there, Kendrick in there, Derek in there. It's amazing because, it's a nice little work bonding thing. And
it's like they tick you off. You just, like, choke them with their gi.
Yeah, but I think it's good. Like, hey, go in and, like, just be awful at something and suck at something for 2-3 years, and compared to black belts and stuff, I'm still awful. We're all still awful. I think it's a great exercise for these guys because you get used to just like losing.
Dude, I went in with one with you, and
right?
It's like, I mean, I have a wrestling background. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll figure this out. And like, it is a humbling experience to get choked out by a grown man.
It is humbling.
And you're like, yeah, dude, there's bigger dogs in the park here.
I take it as like you're never gonna be afraid to like get a sale turned down, right? Like you're used to just getting.
Amen, dude. I love it. Final part here. We ask these questions to everyone that sits in the chair, all about the state of Indiana. So, Graham, what's something the world needs to know about Indiana?
It's filled with humble, supportive people that are rooting for one another. That's been my experience. Like. I want everybody in my community to win, and I've seen that favor returned.
Amen. What is a hidden gem in Indiana?
Yeah, I'll go with 20 Tap. Right in the neighborhood. We can always go out there. We take our daughter there. Service is awesome. Waiters are always awesome, and great spot for us to just go, like, grab a quick dinner, grab a beer, and walk
They
home.
have really good food.
The French breakfast. Have you had the burger?
No.
Unreal. You got to try it.
French breakfast?
Yeah,
what is it?
Some sort of really good cheese on it. Don't quote me on exactly what it is. And then it's got like a blueberry or something salsa. So it's got like the sweet and savory component. It's good. Yeah.
The French breakfast burger?
French breakfast burger. You have to try
that's a hidden gem. So like 20 Tap, everyone's gonna be like 20 Tap, but it was like the French breakfast burger, the sweet and savory, that's the hidden gem.
That is the hidden gem. That is my favorite burger in Indianapolis.
Wow. Final question of the day. You need to share the love. This also helps us find other guests to bring on the pod. Who is a Hoosier that we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
I'm going to go with Drew Champlin with Champlin Jiu-Jitsu. Another entrepreneur that, started recently. He's having great success. Like a lot of people are transforming their fitness and their lives through it. And, yeah, I'd say him. He's a good one to follow.
Yeah, I think the piece about like combat sports and the whole thing there is just as much, if not more, mental growth stacked on this like very difficult physical challenge. Like you go scrap jiu-jitsu for an hour, 60 minutes or whatever. Like one, you're going to walk out of there tired, but mentally you're going to be challenged as well. From jiu-jitsu to the gym to even like going and picking up piano or taking like music classes or something. Like the idea of sucking at something as an adult is something that people steer away from. They try their hardest not to ever suck at anything. And it's like the more time I spend like getting to do, like I did like a piano class and a guitar class and some other stuff, and it's like it's like learning, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to practice and try to get better, and it's just like so much growth and development happens there.
Yeah, I think it keeps you younger too, and like I'm sure there's science out there that I'm not gonna go into, but like new neural pathways and all that. Like if you continue to challenge yourself with new hobbies, like I really have a theory you're not going to age as fast.
That's the theory. And it's like, yeah, and like a hobby that's not just like, as much as I love hanging out and drinking beer and chilling out, but it's like fun to go try something new and like get over the fear of failure kind of thing that we have. So I like that. Champlin Jiu-Jitsu?
Champlin Jiu-Jitsu, yeah.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing the story of Genesis. I've obviously been a fan for a long time, but it's fun to hear it all together and your plans for the future. Thanks for being an awesome member of the Indiana community and all the great stuff you're doing.
And thanks, Nate. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited to continue growing with you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Get In. If you like what you heard, make sure you leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. This show is made possible by our friends up at Sweetwater. Whether you're looking to start a podcast or take your content to the next level, Click the link in the description to see all of my gear recommendations at sweetwater.com. If you want a behind the scenes look at everything we're doing across the state, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nate Spangle. Thank you so much for listening and being part of what makes the Hoosier State great. We'll see you next time here on Get In.